One of the absolute joys of playing a banjo is taking a song you've learned from someone else and putting your own unique spin on it, making it your own. But where do you start, right? That can be a really confusing thing when you are getting started. So today I want to give you a few simple rules of thumb you can use to add your own spin to songs. So we're going to use Cumberland Gap as an example today, and I'm just going to play a version of it where I alternate between a very simple basic version and then a version we come up with using our simple rules, okay? So we're going to start simple. Go fancy. Go simple. Go fancy. Simple. Fancy. And really all I'm doing is applying these three simple rules of thumb there to make our fancier version, right? And so that's what we are looking at today. If you want the tab for this, the basic tab is in my beginner clawhammer banjo tab book. I'll put a link to that below. Feel free to check that out. It's a good book. You'll learn something. Okay, but you don't need the tab to learn these techniques. These are pretty simple rules of thumb we can use to add our own embellishments to songs. All right, so the first guideline we're looking at is around hammer-ons, where we add hammer-ons easily. This is actually really simple. If you have melody notes, consecutive melody notes that appear on the same string and they are going up, so like, for example, open fourth to the second fret of the fourth, something like this. What we can do is we can take that melody note that appears on the second beat, so 1, 2, and 3, 4, and we can move that over a half beat to appear on the end of 1. And when we do that, we can do that as a hammer-on. So instead of 1, 2, and 3, 4, and we can go 1 end. And now our second beat is empty, so we can just replace that with a brushstroke thumb pluck. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and versus 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and, right? So really all we're doing is we're just shifting that melody over half a beat so it appears on the end of 1. And now we've got that empty space, the ditty of our bum ditty basically. And so we can just fill it in with the normal piece, which would be brushstroke thumb pluck. This is really simple. You just need to look for consecutive melody notes on the same string that are going up, right? And you can try a hammer-on there. And so that's really what I'm doing in Cumberland Gap with that first part, because we have that. I can just go. We can shift both of those and add hammer-ons there, and that can sound really cool. All right, so we know when we have melody notes on the same string that are ascending, we can use the hammer-on. What about when they're descending? Well, this is a great spot for a pull-off. And you have a couple of choices here on how to do this, and we'll look at both of them. So say we've got just this little thing here that goes. I'm just going open fourth, second of the fourth, open third, and then back down. So we know we can have that hammer on there, right? And now we can do a pull off when we go from the second fret to the open. But you got two ways you can do this, right? You can either shift the melody note back or forward, and you can try both ways. So the first way, if we shift it forward, we can go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So you see what I'm doing is I'm moving that melody note that appeared on 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. I'm moving that melody note that appeared on 3 now to the end of 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and I'm just hitting it again and just doing a brushstroke, right? So our other options, we can actually move it back half a beat so that melody note appears on the end of 3, and that gives it a little bit of a different feel. So the way that would be 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, and. See, on this one, we're holding our melody note, our second fret of the third string, hitting that again and doing the pull off there. You can experiment both ways. I tend to do it the first way, but it can definitely work the second way and sound really good. If you have those descending melody notes on the same string, try it both ways. You'll figure out pretty quickly what one way tends to work over the other in a given song or in a given part, so give it a try. In Cumberland Gap, our third measure looked like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and, right? So we're going from the second fret of the third string to the open third string, so we can use our little pull-off trick there to go 1, 2, and 3, 4, and, or 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Either one of those can sound really good. Or, see, it's just a slightly different feel, slightly different way of doing it. You can go either way. You can always shift a melody note like half a beat in either direction and it's going to sound good. It's just up to you, like your personal style there. Okay, so we've got ascending and descending melody notes on the same string. What happens when they are on different strings? Well, that leads us to our third little rule of thumb here. This is the drop thumb rule. Not rule, like guideline, right? Like I said, you don't have to do any of these, but these are just little ways to find spots for embellishments. So when you have melody notes that appear on consecutive descending strings, that is a great spot for drop them. So let me show you what I mean. So we've got that, remember, we've got that A part that sounds like. And now here we've got our open second to the second fret of the third string. And we've got our open third to our fourth fret of the fourth string. So that's two spots right there in the same measure where we've got descending melody notes on like consecutive downward strings. So the way you would add the drop thumb is really simple. We're going to start on that open second string. And as you strike in with your second string, you're going to set your thumb on the third. Just pluck up on the open third on your end of 1. So 1, and now hit your melody note, 2, and now you've got your open third. And when you come in, you're going to set your thumb on the open fourth, thumb pluck, melody note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? So how do you know which note to play with your thumb? Should you play an open string? Should you play a fretted note? What? Well, easy rule of thumb here is going to almost always sound good is just play the open string with your thumb. If you do that, you're very unlikely to go wrong. I would just use that as a rule of thumb. That's going to cover you in most situations. So you see, like we've got this hammer-on rule, we've got this pull-off rule, and we've got this drop thumb rule. And these are all ways we can add embellishments to a song really easily. We use our own judgment to come up with the best ways to do that, and we are good to go. These little embellishments will really take you from, very simple arrangements to honestly kind of complex sounding arrangements. And these are things you can play around with, try to put your own spin on a little bit and see what sounds good to you. And trust me, if you go through this exercise with a few of the beginner tabs from my book, for example, or wherever you get beginner tabs, you're going to see these songs start to come together in a way that you really enjoy. So give that a try. Let me know how it goes in the comments, and I will see you next week.